Let's go live to the Emergency Management Minister at a federal level, Bridget McKenzie now. She joins us from Melbourne. Thanks so much for your time. What do you think about Mick Fuller heading up this inquiry?
Well, I think it's a great response by the New South Wales Government. The Premier flagged that last week, that they would be looking at the response, and I think it's great that they're also looking at those longer-term preparedness questions that we need to actually ensure both federal, state and local governments are focusing on how to make sure our communities are prepared better for natural disasters, which we know are going to be more intense and more frequent over the years to come. It's one of the reasons why on Friday I was very, very proud to be able to announce $150 million drawdown from the Emergency Response Fund for exactly that type of project. I was in Lismore with the Mayor to actually say, righto, we've got the immediate response being rolled out as we speak, $3 billion in a little over 3 weeks to all affected communities from Queensland and New South Wales. What are we going to do going forward? And so being able to draw on that money and put it in the hands of both state governments for flood mitigation projects across those affected LGAs will help us be better prepared for the next time.
It must be really frustrating at all levels, because essentially government is getting in the way of government in many ways. Do you find that is the case with mitigation and the clean-up, and can that be improved?
Well, I'm one of those people that thinks we can always do things better the next time, and so examining how we've done something in the past will always lead to a better outcome in the future. But I really need to emphasise that there's been unprecedented collaboration between both the federal government and the Queensland state government and the New South Wales government. We've been able to get our financial assistance out the door quicker than ever before, and we've also been able to get our non-financial assistance, such as ADF boots on the ground, or in the case of Lismore, taipans in the air to winch people off roofs, quicker than we've ever been able to do before. So I think that is something to take, and it's done because we've been able to collaborate better, and we've had set up processes following the bushfires that have meant that communication is better than it was previously. Now, are there things we can improve? Well, we'll be, as a federal government, obviously working with the New South Wales government's inquiry and cooperating with them in every way we can, so that we can do it better the next time.
Do we need a professionalised force, if you like, that's there all the time to respond to these kinds of disasters that are becoming more frequent? Are we relying too much on volunteers?
Well, I think our volunteer emergency services out in rural and regional communities are the heart of our communities. I mean, whether it's in my own home state here, the Country Fire Authority, the SES right across the country, these are the community organisations that are the heart and soul of rural and regional communities. So I would not be a fan of saying that we actually don't continue to rely on our locals, because locals know their place best. They know how best to deal with natural disasters in a time of need. So I think it's about having a suite of options available to all governments as natural disasters roll out, depending on the severity.
When we've had the rain that we have in the last couple of weeks, indeed months, you can often forget about bushfire season being right around the corner. With all this rain, that would be producing more undergrowth, I imagine, than we have seen in some time. So does that mean that our next bushfire season might be more fierce if we don't start to think about mitigation now?
Well, we're seeing that in WA. We had a great rain season over there. They've got a lot of undergrowth, and so whilst on the East Coast we've been dealing with the La Nina and the impacts of quite severe wet weather, they've actually been fighting bushfires. So as we move into, obviously, next season, I'll be waiting for weather updates from the Bureau closer to that high-risk weather season, and we'll be communicating with affected communities when we get that information to hand. But I think in Australia, we know we are the land of droughts and flooding rains, cyclonic activity, bushfire. We know there's always going to be another such event, and we need to continue that culture of quality improvement to make sure that we're better prepared the next time. And I've seen a real shift in both state governments thinking around this, local governments, and indeed the federal government. So I'm confident that by working together, we can be better prepared for the next bushfire season, flood season, cyclone season.
What do you think about these residents who've travelled all the way from Lismore to dump their soggy household goods on the Prime Minister's lawn this morning?
Well, I've been on the ground in Lismore and it's devastating. I was there the Sunday after the event and it looked like a war zone. I was there again on Friday and things are much improved. I think one of the things to remind ourselves about floods is after the water recedes and everyone's cleared away the debris, it's one of those natural disasters that's very easily forgotten out of people's minds. And we've got to make sure as an Australian community and as governments that we stick there for the long haul. I was able to announce bushfire grants 2 years after the fact in that long road to recovery for those communities. And I'm confident that in these flood-affected communities, there's 81 local government areas across the East Coast that have been affected, that we, along with the Queensland State Government and the New South Wales State Government, will be there for the long haul for the years it's going to take for them to recover.
All right, let's talk about the South Australian election. What happened? Are you worried?
Laura, well, congratulations to the incoming South Australian government. I'm very glad we live in a country, when you see what's happening around the world at the moment, to live in a nation where we do get to choose our political leaders. And one thing is clear from the South Australian election, that this was definitely fought on state issues such as health, COVID border closures and the like. In terms of implications for the federal election, I think it's very clear that the issues that will be top of mind for Australians to be considering in the federal election is which is the best political party to lead us as a nation, keep us safe in very uncertain global times, who is going to be the best leadership group to actually secure our economic future with the cost of living pressures that Australians are experiencing. And so it's a very different set of issues that Australians will have to consider in the federal election. And I think the current global situation remains very uncertain.